going to start with a survey. We talk about things that we can check off the list. One of the things that we wanted to do was to build a knowledge base, and that is now live, and I'll be sending Jonathan, where are you? Jonathan the link so he can post that on the Google page also. And our goal is to get all of you to go through and complete this so that we can build a knowledge base of the experience that we have in the room here today. It's things like, basic demographics. Question number 2 is, what's your Twitter username? So we'll see how many of those, how many people have Twitter usernames. So we're going to get all kinds of new social media drivers. Where do you reside? This is a tricky question. I asked it twice. One was, where do you live? What county do you live in? And the counties are in alphabetical order, just in case. We don't want to play any favorites. And then what county do you work in? The thought is, if you live in a different county, you may have some, influence and contacts in those areas also, so we wanted to capture that. Information on your field and your discipline, what unique skills do you bring to the table? Does your organization offer education or education classes, and if you do, to what age groups and what types of programs? We collected information on facilities, so if you are involved in an organization that has facilities, do you rent them, do you own them, how much square footage is available? You talk about trying to streamline things and collaborate. Are you looking for additional space for your programs? Do you have space that you can share? Trying to create some efficiencies across those platforms. Do you partner with other groups and the like? And then the last question is an interesting one that feeds an idea that we had. And as Julia was sharing her social media presentation, it talked a little bit about statistics from UPAF that it collected about how while the revenue collected has risen, the attendance has declined over the last several years. So we have somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 30 to 35% available capacity, which means there's a lot of free opportunity out there. So we came up with an idea of kind of a ticket outreach. Currently, it sounds like UPAF does do some ticket distribution, kind of last-minute ticket distribution. But the belief is that, a lot of times that's probably going to people who are already, engaged in the arts community or already donating. So the idea here is to build a database of companies that meet a couple of criteria. First, they're not currently a significant supporter of the creative community or the arts community in the region. And that second, they have the types of employees that are inclined to see the value that the creative community brings, and also become future supporters of the arts community. So the survey allows you to share up to 3 organizations or companies that you're aware of that you think fit those criteria, and then if you have a contact person there that ultimately, I think we're talking about possibly leveraging, Christy offered possibly leveraging UPAF to help with the distribution, but us giving them a more focused and targeted list to work from. So that's the survey part of things that gathered a lot of the information that was on our original list.
Great. Well, a lot of our pieces did link together, in looking at the social media, we distributed a sheet for people to look at about what the format would be, which was basically looking at kind of 2 sides. One that's kind of the traditional social media, is traditional social media using Twitter and Facebook, and getting the identification up there and messages going through that. But then the other one was creating kind of a Pandora-like app that would also have the behavioral algorithms in it that would start to help people discover arts that they might not be aware of, or kind of drive content to them that they might be interested in. And in looking at how this could happen, we look at kind of a shared ownership between UPAF and Cultural Alliance, which I think we can talk through more about who does what, but there has to be an educational component in there for the arts groups, because this is only going to be as good as the information fed into it. So the arts groups are going to need to learn how you handle social media, how you're authentic on it, everything that we talked about earlier, that Lucia talked about. And then the funding is going to partially be philanthropic and foundation dollars for some of the seed money to get going. But it's going to take some reinvestment from the organizations themselves. For one thing, it's going to have to be personed within the organizations, and it may mean a reassignment of some of your staff, certainly a re-education about this is different from direct marketing. You've got to learn how to do it. execution, we've got a couple groups that we've been working with, Fresh Coast Ventures, that have the ability to do kind of the Pandora site and the algorithms and all of that, and Sprinkler, which can help be kind of the face behind it to get it going, manage it, help work with the groups to pull things in, so that we get off to a really good start. Eventually, this should become more intrinsic, but we want to make sure that it works well to begin with. And we'll get it going as soon as we get the money. That's kind of going to be the key thing. And then our outpost will be, again, the more traditional things. You want to add anything to it?
No, I mean, basically to say this site is going to be an aggregate of everything arts and culture and creative, and how do we make it so easy for anyone to experience and interact with that from any type of event or other events that the system will know they should probably consider as well. So not only am I going to the site to buy a ticket, but I'm explaining to that site how I'm using the art so that it becomes smarter and can suggest other events to me. So from the smallest gallery to the biggest performing arts center, it knows what my preferences are and can suggest that. So now we're opening this entire audience up to everyone, all the groups.